Welcome on in, race fans, to tonight's event, the final event of the regular season here in the Tuesday Night Thunder Truck Series for our active season. We are at Talladega, and we are getting ready to set our playoff field for the Scrambler Series, which should be a lot of fun. Joining me alongside, as always, is my co-host, Tom Richter. How is it going tonight, Tom?
Good evening, Arie. Happy Tuesday to you, and happy Tuesday to everybody out there in the Cyber Thunder Broadcast Nation. I am so excited tonight, Arie, to come to Talladega. We come to the great unknown of a Superspeedway, and drivers are on edge out here tonight. We got drivers thinking about pointing their way in. We got drivers thinking about taking the wild card on the way in, which with the most number of stage points. And then we got drivers just coming out here just to race because they're already locked into the playoffs, or maybe unfortunately they're locked out of the playoffs depending on who you are. So you're going to have a lot of different strategies, and some drivers going for this race in a lot different ways than they usually are.
That you are. We're going to see a mix of different strategies. There's only really a small handful of drivers who are worrying about points one way or the other. The rest of the drivers out there in the field, they're all looking to score a win and put their truck in victory lane. Watching right now, circulating the track, Frank DiMaggio in the 24 and Tito Todorov in the 22 trucks. Drivers have been practicing for just about the last hour to hour and a half. We are getting ready to wrap up practice shortly here for our 5 minutes of qualifying, but top of the board so far in practice, it's the Toyota of Nathan Dufton.
Nathan Dufton, one of the dark horses to win out here tonight. In second place, don't look now, but Mr. Brian Dorsey, currently second on the board. It's been a long time since Brian's found victory lane out here in the Cyber Thunder Racing League. Could tonight be the night and have a breakthrough night in that Ford F-150? Very possible, but he's being chased by a season favorite, Cody Gibson.
That he is, and I tell you what, if this field doesn't do their best to prevent Cody Gibson or Greg Mitchell from winning this race, then I'll be pretty speechless. I think this is going to be a good opportunity for the likes of some of those drivers who've just been waiting for their opportunity. Drivers like Ed Jurgen, drivers like Andrew Caldwell, drivers like even further down in the field, I know that you're looking at Paxton Frith tonight, Philip Van Vliet. A lot of these drivers who, don't really have the opportunity to find themselves looking at the checkered flag all that often are going to have a great shot tonight to go up there and dethrone the regulars.
They certainly are, and we'll take a quick look at the upcoming schedule that these drivers are going to have to fight through before one of them is crowned a champion. Here in the beginning of February, drivers are going to be seeing Atlanta Motor Speedway, the old version of Atlanta, the very tire eater version of Atlanta Motor Speedway, Kentucky, Richmond, Pocono. So some short tracks in there. Texas, we got a fun little race at Michigan to talk about at some point, and then finally the drivers are going to settle the score at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So a vast and variety-filled schedule for the championship beginning on December 30th.
That's right, and I mean, speaking of the things to talk about, as we go through those races, we will be effectively eliminating one driver from the playoff field every single race. I think there's one or two where we might eliminate a couple at a time. You do not want to be the lowest finishing playoff driver on any of those given races. Those who manage to finish ahead of at least one other are going to be the ones who find themselves surviving all the way to Charlotte, and then it is no holds barred at that point.
It is not, and it's going to be the winner take all at Charlotte Motor Speedway, America's home for racing, as we have just about 10 seconds remaining out in our practice session. Nathan Dufton going to be fastest, followed by Brian Dorsey, Cody Gibson, the top three as they run, Arie. But that scoreboard that you see right there, take it up, crumple it up, and throw it out, because we're going racing at Talladega.
That's right, and being that we're at a super speedway and we're about to go qualifying, can't help but think if there's going to be another opportunity for Mr. Gary Bowman to go out there and steal another pole position. Arguably our best qualifier at these wide open tracks, but remains to be seen. Let's wipe that board clean and let's find out who our first couple of drivers out on track are.
Looking for some of the first drivers to light up out on track right now. Let's see who we're going to follow around out here. Let's follow around Jason Raymond, the number 49 Chevy Silverado that he is piloting out here tonight. Jason comes in I want to say mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, so Jason going to be one of the drivers going for broke out here tonight.
Yeah, Jason Raymond joined a little too late in the season to get the amount of starts he needed to qualify for the playoffs, though, had he gotten enough starts, he would be in a good spot for the wild card. He'll be in a good position going into next season, regardless, to be one of our top competitors. Rocking a new paint scheme out there on track this week. I think this was an alternate take on a Christmas paint scheme for Jason. He was telling me about. I think he put some Home Alone references on the side. We can see right there of that bright green 49. He wanted to make sure that we caught on the broadcast.
You know, it's funny. I've never seen Home Alone up until about 6 months ago. I know that's kind of like admitting to a curse or something, but yeah, he's out here. A lot of drivers out in Christmas-themed paint schemes out here tonight. Casey Tomlinson's out in one. Tanner Marr's out in one. I believe Cody Gibson's probably out in one. So a lot of the drivers get into the spirit a week early out here.
Gotta love to see it. Down into turn 1 and 2 we go with Jason Raymond electing to just go ahead and start running that bottom line even on the first time lap. I know some drivers will take the opportunity to just stay up high for the entire first counted lap, just keep building that momentum. But Raymond's going to go ahead and get 2 good laps in here. And really, Tom, at the end of the day, with qualifying at a track like Talladega, there's so little you can do to really, affect the difference. It's full throttle, and you're all the way down on the line. And beyond that, it's the minuscule differences and how much you're turning the wheel, whether or not you let the truck slide up the track just a little bit on exit, whether you cut the apron up here. It really just comes down to a small handful of things.
It really does. And, it's funny, though, because typically when we come to these super speedways, we tend to see the same kind of qualifiers make their way up towards the front of the timing charts. And usually one name that comes to mind is Gary Bowman. We'll see what Gary does. Looks like Gary is he out on track yet? I don't see him.
Oh, Gary's just about to cross. Right, there we go. Yeah. It's like lap number 1, P14 for Gary. Now starting lap number 2. Jason Raymond coming through turns 3 and 4. Going to go ahead and hit the exit right here. And we'll see if he elects to cut the apron at all, heading down the front stretch and towards the start-finish. Jason Raymond currently sitting P2 on the board. And we are going to find out just where he places himself. Everyone shuffles through. Still P2. Matt Semple's going to jump up to the top as it currently sits.
Matt Semple to the top of the board, followed by Jason Raymond, Paxton Frith. Put Brad Holmes in 4th place. Brad Collins rounds out the top 5 as they run right now. Mr. Bowman coming around to complete lap number 2 of 2 for that number 8.
Wow.
Here looks like. Yeah, that's unexpected out of the 8.
P14. We know these trucks got a recent update on the iRacing sim, so I wonder if some of the usual qualifying tactics are proving a little less useful. Matt Semple on the pole at the moment. We're watching Cody Gibson, one of our favorites for the championship this season, making his way down the backstretch on his second lap. Oh, actually, it looks like he's going to pull off to the side.
Yeah, Cody Gibson's going to put his second lap down and away. Looks like Mr. Mitchell still out on the track. Looks like he is going to be coming across the board for the first time. See where Greg is able to go. It's really kind of been the Cody Gibson and Greg Mitchell show with flashes of other drivers throughout the season, Arie. First time by for Greg Mitchell. As expected, slowest on the board. That's just the outlap. But these 2 drivers, once we get to the Scrambler Series, these 2 drivers are going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Absolutely, and more than anything, just waiting to see if we get any upsets with either of these 2. Greg Mitchell going to have to forfeit a second lap. He pulls off. He's only P25.
Yeah, a couple of drivers electing not to take their full 2 laps of qualifying out here. Actually, I mean, timing is showing that Greg completed both of his laps, but he is he's a half second off the pace, and you don't do that. You don't have that big of a difference out here if that is not intentional. But qualifying done and away, and it's about time we go racing on a Tuesday night.
That it is. One of the more interesting qualifying sessions of the season. And we are ready to set our starting grid all the way up at the front. A name that we did not expect to be up here grabbing the pole today. It's going to be Matt Semple, driver of the 16, our pole sitter for tonight's event, alongside a driver who we watched in qualifying, Jason Raymond, in the 49. On road 2, it's going to be Paxton Frith. That's Tom's underdog pick tonight, followed by Brad Holmes in the 00. In 5th, Brad Collins in the 67 with a good run, ahead of Amanda Sherman in P6 to Warwagon. Nathan Dufton starts us off in P7. We got Lee Campbell in 8th. Dustin Ping, one of our playoff hopefuls, in 9th. And rounding out the top 10, Andrew Caldwell.
Starting 11th on the board is going to be Teodor Todorov. Chris Lett's going to be starting 12th. Next to him, Steven Music going to roll off 13th, followed by second place in points, Cody Gibson. Gary Bowman, the big surprise in qualifying, starts 15th out here tonight. How will Gary manage his race starting 15th? David Gainforth is going to start 16th place, followed by Logan Spencer. Michael Stiverson, driver in that number 20 Toyota Tundra, rolls off 18th with Andy Cork and Ed Jurgen in the top 20.
Just outside of the top 20, Corey Sherman in the 3 is going to start 21st, ahead of Rick Thompson, another playoff hopeful. We've got Chris Rose in 23rd, ahead of Jarrett Camilli. Points leader Greg Mitchell rolls off from 25th tonight. Frank DiMaggio in 26th. The lone Dutchman, Philip Van Vliet, starts in 27th, ahead of Tanner Marr in 28th. Playoff hopeful Eric Anderson in 29th, and rounding out the top 30, Larry Bell.
We have Fred Thompson starting 31st out here tonight out of Speed Mafia Motorsports. Brian Dorsey's going to start 32nd, followed by Casey Tomlinson, and then rounding out the field of 34 drivers out here tonight, James Kinder. As the field begins to roll past the start-finish line, and Arie, all these drivers, all the butterflies, they're flying around right now as everybody comes up through the gears the first time.
That they are. Every single one of these drivers heads into turn 1 at pace speed, knowing that they have just about an equal shot of coming out on top as any of the drivers around them. Who's it going to be today? Is it going to be one of the usual? Is it going to be a favorite? Is it going to be an underdog? Maybe even a first-time Cyber Thunder race winner?
That is the question that we have to answer, and we're going to find out the answer in 88 laps tonight as the field comes around here, and we get to go race in the first stage, 20 laps long.
Well, we've mentioned your underdog pick for the day, Tom, and driver number 7, Paxton Frith, who's had a great showing in the Cyber Thunder Racing League since he's been here. This might be his career best qualifying effort as well, up there on road 2. I've got my eyes on driver 92, two-time Cyber 500 winner Ed Jurgen, who isn't too much of an underdog if you're looking at the point standings, but let's not forget, it has been quite a while since Ed Jurgen last won a scored race here in the Cyber Thunder Racing League, so he is long overdue.
A lot of drivers think that tonight is an opportunity for them to get up to victory lane, and we may have drivers making their way towards the front out here tonight as we wait for the pace car to get down and out of the way, and we're going to see 20 laps of racing before we see the first stage.
All right, let's set up the picture real quick for everybody. There are 4 drivers we are keeping our eyes on in regards to the playoff cutoff. Eric Anderson and Lee Campbell are the 2 that are in. Mike Stiverson, Dustin Ping are the 2 that are out at the moment on points alone. With that said, the pace car is going to peel off onto pit road. We're going to head towards that starting zone, and the green flag is in the air for the first time tonight. Matt Semple on the loud pedal from the inside, but Jason Raymond's got help.
Jason Raymond, Brad Holmes, they line up quickly up on the outside lane. Now a lane change. Brad Holmes down to the inside to help his teammate Matt Semple down on the inside. That's going to leave Jason Raymond with help in the distance in his mirror of Amanda Sherman.
Now coming through turn 2, the race is in the hands of Matt Semple, leading that bottom line. The high line starting to get formed up. Raymond, Sherman, and now Campbell on the high side trying to get formed up. I think once we get through turns 3 and 4, that high line's going to start to gain some momentum, but right now 3 make it 2 trucks clear on the bottom line.
Paxton Frith trying to become the 3rd driver to clear the outside lane, and it looks like he may be able to. Jason Raymond and Amanda Sherman, they have fallen back to about the 4th row as they run right now. The top 3, Semple, Holmes, and Frith, as they run to complete lap number 1, give a point to Matt Semple.
Pole sitter leads lap number 1. He's got 2 teammates in tow, Brad Holmes and Paxton Frith in that 7 truck. They're probably going to sit comfortable up there and control this race as long as they can here in stage 1. We've got the 67 of Brad Collins, 4th truck on the bottom line. Now it's going to be his task to try and clear the 49 of Raymond, but that high side starting to get formed together. They've got 7 trucks, nose to tail, starting with Raymond, ending with Stuyvesant.
And you see a couple of drivers that are fighting for a playoff position right in the middle of this pack right here, because they know if they get stage points, those are extra points that they get out here tonight. You got drivers like Lee Campbell right up in the middle of it. You got drivers like Mike Stuyvesant right up in the middle of it. You've got drivers like Amanda Sherman in the middle of it. So all these drivers know that there's extra points for grabs here and not too far of a run.
These stage points are going to be more important tonight than they have been at any other point in the season, I would argue, as we continue to watch this high line stagnated around the 4th car back on the bottom. Raymond's not really able to pull up to the quarter panel of Frith, the 3rd truck on the bottom. Is going to get a good run down the back straightaway, getting a push from Amanda Sherman and now on board with Lee Campbell. But that bottom line seems to be pretty well put together.
They really do, and you can see the outside lane here as we follow the 88 of Amanda Sherman. You can kind of see maybe the uncertainty between the 60 and the 88 between Campbell and Sherman, and you could just see the distance that the inside line. Now there's actually distance in front of the 47 of Nathan Dufton to Brad Collins, so it's going to be a top 4 car breakaway here as we come across, and we're actually going to have our first yellow flag of the night. Looks like Eric Anderson has issues, Chris Rose has issues.
Issues for multiple drivers further back in the field, not least of which one of our playoff drivers that we are keeping an eye on, Eric Anderson, doesn't look to have a lot of damage at the moment. We'll wait for a replay to get queued up right here and see what happened, but at least 4 drivers involved in an incident that started further back in the pack as we approached the tri-oval. Let's take a look here. Let's see if we can't find where this all began. We are going to take a look from right here. It looks like Casey Tomlinson's already down here. There's already smoke up ahead. It looks like this started a little further up. That's an incident after the incident. Let's see if we can't find Eric Anderson right here. Maybe take a zoomed out picture and see if we can't determine what happened right here. I'm not entirely sure how everyone got sideways. Oh, it started further up. It looks like the 07 of Chris Rose. And we can see the effects, the aftermath of that. Now let's go ahead and watch Chris Rose on this restart then. Or restart on this replay. Let's get one more replay queued up, and we're going to watch into the tri-oval we go. Gets a push from Rick Thompson. Sends the 07 out to the right. Loses control entirely right in front of our points leader, Greg Mitchell. He's going to get a little contact right here on this, but it looks like Greg does skirt through Corey Sherman, just narrowly going to avoid the out-of-control 07, who does clip Tanner Marr and Frank DiMaggio. Further back, the 79 and the 52 get together trying to check up for the incident. Let's see if we can't get one more. Let's see if we can get one more look, and let's watch from on board Rick Thompson in the 76. Just looks like one of those traditional accordion effects, a push at the same time that the 07 was lifting off of the gas. And sometimes that is a recipe for disaster at tracks like these. As it currently sits, the top 19 drivers have elected to stay out on track for that track position, whereas everyone else has elected to come down on pit road. Chris Letts, Dave Gainforth, Greg Mitchell, Andy Cork are going to be the first handful off of pit road. We've also got Larry Bell, Brian Dorsey, Dustin Ping, Casey Tomlinson, Corey Sherman, Chris Rose, Frank DiMaggio, Eric Anderson, Tanner Marr, and Fred Thompson on pit road as we speak, all either getting fuel, tires, both, and maybe even some damage repaired from that incident or otherwise. As we run, Matt Semple controls this race. We're currently working lap 4 out of our event tonight. Still got a long way to go. Early caution to re-rack the field. Everyone had a couple laps to feel it out. Stage 1 ends at the conclusion of lap number 20. fuel should not be an issue to get to the end of Stage 1. Those drivers who just came down, they are ensuring that they are good to go on fuel. Everyone who stayed out, maybe even Matt Semple in front of the field, he might need to worry about it just a little bit. Whereas everybody else will have the opportunity to save in the draft or have already taken some fuel. It looks like Chris Letts, Gainforth, Mitchell, Cork, Bell, Dorsey, and Tomlinson all took fuel only on that pit stop. So it looks like they were ensuring that they were going to be good to go to the end of the stage on fuel, which does tell me that maybe fuel is going to be a little bit of a closer call than we were anticipating heading into tonight's event. Something to keep an eye on. The drivers who have come down to splash off on fuel. It looks like Matt Semple, our race leader, is going to elect to take the outside line for the restart in 1 lap's time. The lights on that pace car are about to cut out, and the field will double up once again. The top 3, all teammates leading at the front of the field. The 16, the 00, the 7. Rounding out row 2, we've got Brad Collins, and rounding out row 3, Jason Raymond and Nathan Dufton. Wait to get all of our drivers pulled around and situated where they need to be. A reminder of the playoff cutoff situation that we're looking at. Eric Anderson is currently in by 19 points into the playoff picture. Lee Campbell is, 22 points for Eric Anderson. Lee Campbell is only in by 3 points over Mike Stiverson. Now, that's notable because Lee Campbell runs 8th, while Mike Stiverson runs 13th. Those two are pretty close together on track. That might be the closest points battle that we are watching all night tonight. Of course, that's just getting in on points and not factoring the wild card for the final 2 playoff positions. That's entirely based on stage points.
And it gets a little bit more complicated, Arie, because when you talk about the 60 and the 20, those drivers, though we don't have official teams here in the Cyber Thunder Racing League, those drivers run together a lot of the times, and they work together. At the end of the night, one of them, or both of them, are going to have to say that, you know, my night matters more than yours, and it may come down to a battle between those 2 drivers and teammates to determine what may be the final spot.
Certainly the case, and certainly something to keep in mind as well. Pace car is getting ready to pull off field again in the hands of the 16 of Matt Semple now with teammate Brad Holmes on the inside. Double in that 00. We're going to get ready to get green once again.
Pace car down and away, field being led by Matt Semple and Brad Holmes. On the front row, second row going to be made up of Paxton Frith and Brad Collins, but we got to wait a long time before we get into the restart zone. Drivers now entering the restart zone, and we are green and away. Matt Semple first on the loud pedal, up on the outside, got Brad Collins pushing him, and Brad Holmes down up on the inside, kind of all by himself right now, but he's got help in his windshield right now of the 16, but the 16 is out there by quite a bit, and this could spell trouble on the backstretch.
It very well could. Matt Semple is going to clear second place by about 4 car lengths through turns 1 and 2. Finally, now they're going to get the draft. Big push coming to the rear bumper. Luckily, it's a teammate in the 00. Closes in to Matt Semple. Now they are hooked up nose to tail as we watch on board the 67 of Brad Collins leading the outside line.
And you can see Brad Collins has help from, is that Nathan Dufton directly behind him? It is, as now the outside line breaks up just a little bit here, as the bottom 2 of Brad Collins, or Brad Holmes and Matt Semple have kind of separated up a little bit. Paxton Frith having a good opening stage to tonight's race, runs 3rd, and from there on back, you're 2 and 3 wide.
Couple of close calls, pushing up on the high side right there. Lee Campbell on the back bumper of Nathan Dufton, trying to get it figured out. Cody Gibson getting a little squirrely as well. We might be 3 wide for just a second. The drivers get it sorted as Nathan Dufton dives down to the bottom. That leaves Brad Collins out to dry, and now the inside line has 4 drivers clear, make it 5 in just a moment with Amanda Sherman in the War Wagon down low. They got to try and catch those 3 trucks up front. We've got a breakaway. Semple, Holmes, Frith just a little bit ahead of the rest.
A top 5 breakaway, Nathan Dufton now clear up on the outside, possibly for a moment, make it not clear of Brad Collins as Brad's got help from the 60 of Lee Campbell running on the outside lane, followed by Cody Gibson. Cody Gibson, one of these drivers, Arie, that a lot of drivers, I think, when they see that one truck, they say, I feel comfortable running around you. And it helps to have that kind of reputation when it comes to super speedway racing, because at the end of the night, you may just be the line that goes forward when drivers follow you.
Couldn't have said it better myself, and Cody Gibson's been going out there and racking up the wins this season. Very much a breakout season for driver of the one. Looking to be in contention even on the super speedways here. He's all over the rear bumper of Lee Campbell in the 60 on that high side, now getting formed up with enough drivers to potentially make a difference. They're back to that kind of no man's land where they're neck and neck with the fourth driver on the inside. We'll see if they can kind of break through that barrier that has seemed to plague that outside line so far.
Yeah, the bottom lane really just has had 3 cars or 3 trucks committed pretty much since the green flag of Semple, Holmes, and Frith. And at times Brad Collins has played his way down into that inside lane, now stuck up on the outside lane. I just don't see the outside lane being as formed up as the inside lane is, especially on the straightaways. Like if we go over to, let's take a look at Brad Holmes on the backstretch here and just see how close he is and the steadiness between the 16 and the 0-0 that you see them running on the backstretch here. Now you compare that to the outside lane, there's a whole lot of movement.
Yeah, there certainly is. That outside line's got a lot less stability, and that is very much going to affect things. I think a part of what we're seeing on that inside line is both being on the easier line to drive, but also being 2 drivers that have raced each other more than anyone else in this field, 2 drivers who are very familiar with one another, so that certainly helps when you need to do some close quarters bump drafting. But now we're seeing Brad Collins in the 67 try and make another run, bringing that outside line up alongside the 49 of Jason Raymond and looking to try and catch up to the side of the 7.
The outside lane making a little bit of headway right now as they now pull up to row number 4 as they come out of turn number 2, as they're going to lose a little bit of time on the backstretch. And the inside lane just continues to pull away. And now Amanda Sherman now side by side with the outside lane car of Brad Collins as they run. Jason Raymond's actually going to jump up down here into turn number 3, and that's going to be the first car on the bottom lane to venture out that we haven't seen anybody do out here tonight. But these drivers are all thinking about stage points. They know that if a caution comes out in the next after lap number 15, that is the stage, and that's when the stage points are recorded if we do get a yellow.
That it is, and we'll see what a different driver leading the outside line could do. Maybe not. We're going to go 3 wide. Brad Collins does not fancy pushing Jason Raymond, and now we're going to get split up. Cody Gibson goes to the outside, but Lee Campbell goes to the middle, and now a 3-car breakaway out front, and the rest of the field 3 by 3, a couple of rows deep. Amanda Sherman on the inside. In the middle, it's Raymond, and on the outside, Brad Collins with the help of Cody Gibson.
I want to give a quick early race shout-out to one driver that I've been keeping my eye on the first 12 laps of this race. That's Steven Music in the 09, that Mountain Dew Chevy Silverado you see there in the middle of your screen. Steven still looking for his first career Cyber Thunder Racing League win and having a good run to start the night. Currently runs in 10th, but you see just how jumbled up they are. And anything could happen, but you just got to put yourself in position at the end of the race. And Steven Music showing some hustle.
That he is, and jumbled up might be an understatement. Update on the breakaway up front. Amanda Sherman has driven up to the back of Paxton Frith, making a 4-truck breakaway. Looks like they're going to start to bring in Nathan Dufton in tow. One thing I've noticed since this update, Tom, is it looks like that side draft when you're racing in the pack is maybe a little bit more of something that you got to manage. If you get side by side and there's some drivers out front who are single file, it looks like they're a lot more able to just kind of run away from the pack if you're not careful.
It's very possible. We talked about, I was listening to drivers in practice saying that they're pretty much able to get to the back of the car in front of them and then really not have to lift because they're not getting the massive runs that they were used to. They made a couple of aerodynamic changes to the Craftsman Truck Series here on iRacing, and we're seeing some of that have an effect out here tonight, where like the lines are just not moving if they're not working perfectly together.
All sorts of new challenges for these drivers to manage, but again, those who are more familiar and more skilled with drafting are the ones I would expect to rise to the top as we see maybe some more three-wide action. Yes, indeed. Down the back straightaway, Cody Gibson decides to lead that third line, trying to be aggressive here. Is going to bring the 33 of Camille up on the high side. Not going to go anywhere at the moment. Meanwhile, the bottom line is broken free. About 6 trucks at this point before we get 2x2.
Keep an eye on that number 20 truck, one of the drivers needing stage points out here tonight. He's found his way up to the 11th place running position. Is Mike Stuyvesant. He says, I need some stage points, and now is the time to go. So obviously he's valuing his opportunity for a wild card entry to the playoffs at the risk of being involved in an accident up here early in tonight's race.
That he is, and look at this. Just ahead of Mike Stuyvesant, that second car in front of him, is Lee Campbell, the driver who he needs to score 3 more points then over the course of this race to beat him for the playoffs. That 60 truck, that Krispy Kreme rear bumper, that's who Mike Stuyvesant's got his eye on. If he can score 3 more points over the course of tonight's event, he bumps him out of the playoffs. And this first stage, it's going to be a good opportunity to secure some points. Lee Campbell's been doing a fantastic job up there, and Mike Stuyvesant's got him in his sights now.
See the outside lane carry a little bit of momentum through the try over there as Mike Stuyvesant's going to pull almost side by side with the 22 of Totoro as they enter down into turn number 1. But the race still being led by Matt Semple, Brad Holmes, Paxton Frith at the top.
Looks like Amanda Sherman from 4th has moved up to the outside line and brought Jason Raymond in tow. They're going to try and make something work on the outside. Lee Campbell might make it 3 wide. Looks there for a second, and he's going to do it again. Lee Campbell dives to the inside of Raymond. Does not fancy. Does not fancy right up there.
If I'm the 49 truck, I did not like that move. And if I'm the 88 truck, I did not like that move. Lee Campbell is trying to move forward here at the end of stage number 1. And a couple of close calls on the entry to turn number 3 there between the 49 and the 88.
Certainly the case. Lee Campbell racing like he is fighting for his playoff life, and he certainly is. And what that has done is that may have put the 60 and the 20 in a position where they might not get any stage points.
Both of these drivers outside the top 10 right now. Campbell in 11th, Stuyvesant back in 14th as you see the field starts a single file out in front of them, but behind these drivers, it is every man for himself. First driver kind of up for grabs back here is Amanda Sherman. Looks like Amanda Sherman, Mike Stuyvesant, Greg Mitchell going to start to work the outside lane here as Lee Campbell's going to jump up and try to start that lane before they get there. No, Mike Stuyvesant down to the bottom.
Mike Stuyvesant down to the bottom's gotta go. He sees Lee Campbell single-handedly on the outside line, moving up truck after truck, using nothing but the side draft, fueled entirely by the hopes of making the playoffs. Gary Bowman gets sideways, and here comes Mike Stuyvesant. Not so fast, Lee Campbell. The 20 truck is here to contest.
I would love to be a fly on the wall in that team room right now because you got 2 drivers competing against each other, but also working with each other, and that is a difficult environment to be in as we have just 3 laps to go in the stage. Who's going to get stage 1? Will it be Matt Semple? Will it be Brad Holmes? Or will it be somebody up from the outside lane? We haven't seen the outside lane go just yet. This is the first time we've seen the 60 and the 20 linked up, leading the lane.
That it is. The 60 gets a little squirrely on entry into 3, gets it sorted, and now neck and neck with the 5th car on the bottom, trying to pull up to the 4th. That's Nathan Dufton on the inside. With the help of the 20 of Mike Stuyvesant, we've got to think here, Tom, that by the time it's over, Mike Stuyvesant's going to have to try and make a move on the 60. He can't afford more of a points deficit.
You really got to think that, Arie, and now a little bit of separation from 3rd place back to Nathan Dufton on the inside. That's going to give an opportunity here with 2 to go in the stage for Mike Stuyvesant and Lee Campbell. Obviously, Brad Holmes wants to win the stage. Paxton Frith wants to win the stage. If those 3 drivers step out of line, even just the tiniest of bits, that's going to allow this outside lane, which is formed really well right now, to get up there. And a lot of times it's easy to think that you have enough time to go and make that move, and before you know it, you're putting yourself in a position where nobody's going to win the stage.
Certainly the case. We can't forget the duo of the 47 and the 46, Caldwell Dufton. Those 2 race together, sitting in 4th and 5th. You got to think they're going to go with each other whenever the time comes, as we are now white flag for stage number 1, 1 to go. it's now or never for those stage points.
And you can see Lee Campbell trying to make every move possible. Nathan Dufton, I think Nathan's probably going to jump up in front of the 60 here, maybe take a run up on the outside lane here. To keep an eye on that number 7 of Paxton Frith. Paxton having an incredible night to start the regular season finale in that number 7. But these drivers working their way down the backstretch here, still led by Semple, Holmes, and Frith, the top 3, as they run single file 4 cars long.
We're getting real antsy through turns 3 and 4, but now
What
it's
does
time for
Stuyvesant
the
do
final
here?
run.
What does Stuyvesant do here? Does he jump out with the help of Amanda Sherman behind him to get some much needed stage points? No, not yet. But Matt Semple across the line. Matt Semple's going to win stage number 1. Brad Holmes second. Paxton Frith comes home third. Nathan Dufton, and then I want to say Lee Campbell was 5th.
We're going to see how everyone shakes out as they find their correct running order under yellow right here. Big result for Matt Semple, who wins the stage. Big result for Lee Campbell, who outscores Mike Stuyvesant to widen his gap ahead. All these drivers going to figure out where they need to be running, and they're also going to check up for the pace car to catch on up and pass everyone by here. Looks like everyone made it safely on fuel for all of stage 1, and now we turn our attention to stage number 2, which will end at the conclusion of lap number 50. A little bit longer, and fuel will certainly not be good to the end from this point. Waiting to see just how the order shuffles out so that I can keep track of the stage points on my end. It looks like the 60 truck of Lee Campbell is going to score 5 stage points for that 60 truck as we run. Mike Stuyvesant scored 3 stage points at the time of the caution, so that means that means Lee Campbell has widened his gap to a total of 5 points over Mike Stuyvesant from 3 after stage 1. None of the other playoff picture drivers scoring stage points in stage number 1. Those, of course, would have been Eric Anderson, Dustin Ping, Rick Thompson. And drivers are going to make their... half of the drivers make their first pit stop of the evening. The other half going to come down for their first set of tires, more than likely.
See everybody up and on pit road out here. Should see some alternate tire strategies, possibly some fuel only as the field starts to come off. Brad Holmes actually going to win the race off pit road, followed by Matt Semple, Nathan Dufton. Paxton Frith going to lose a spot on pit road. Andrew Caldwell's going to grab a spot or 2 on pit road. Frank DiMaggio moves up in the running order to 6th, and then from there on back, you got Greg Mitchell, Chris Letts, Mike Stuyvesant, and Lee Campbell, the top 10.
At the conclusion of stage number 1, Tom, another thing that this has done points-wise is it has brought Lee Campbell to within 14 points of Eric Anderson, who is currently sitting 9th in points. So if Eric's not careful, he could find himself losing out to Lee Campbell, assuming things go his way.
You know, and it's funny, Arie, because we were talking to Eric before, and Eric was going through every possible scenario, both for wild cards and points, and says, well, if I do this, what does this person have to do? And so Eric was very well aware of the point situation coming into tonight, and had a lot of different playbooks. I think that 43 may have just been trying to survive stage number 1, see how it kind of plays out here, and maybe we'll see that 43 get up here, maybe for some stage points. In stage number 2, not in panic mode just yet, but a bad stage 3 or getting caught up in a wreck in stage 3, that's 14 points right there.
That it is, and we have yet to see the big one strike. We've had 1 caution for incident so far. No significant damage for any one driver or another from that incident right there. As we run, we've got 32 drivers on the lead lap. The only driver who is not on the lead lap is Corey Sherman, who currently runs in 33rd position. Couple of drivers electing to top off on fuel here, Tom. We got Frank DiMaggio on the 24.
Yeah, I don't hate that. We were talking about a fuel run out here earlier tonight, a fuel run somewhere in the realm of 20 to 22 laps. That's going to be about what they have in terms of green flag racing. Obviously, yellow flag could flip that coin on its head if we do get a caution occurring in stage number 2. So I don't hate this here. If this does run green, I do like that call.
I do as
like
well.
There's a whole bunch of them, actually. It's going to be about 22nd on back. So it's about 11 cars coming on pit road.
It's a good call. I like it. I would probably make that call myself if I were anywhere but the top 5. And speaking of the top 5, we're going to restart this race with Brad Holmes in control, having won the race off of pit road, moved double-double into first place. Matt Semple remains on the front row in second. Row 2 is going to consist of Nathan Dufton and Paxton Frith. And row 3, Andrew Caldwell, Greg Mitchell.
Well, Arie, that was 20 laps down. Drivers know that they got just about 60 laps remaining in tonight's event. If you're a driver like Mike Stuyvesant, Lee Campbell, maybe Eric Anderson, maybe one of these drivers on the playoff cut line here, what'd you think of stage 1? Are you going to push as much as you did in stage 2, or what's your thoughts for this next run here?
I think the number one thing I'm thinking for stage number 2 is you got to make sure that whoever's leading that bottom line, you got to make sure it's either you or it's somebody who's not going to run as good as those top 3 did through all of stage 1. If you get drivers who are really well linked together, it seems nigh on impossible to make that high side run on the outside. So we'll see what everyone can manage here. But in terms of how aggressive and how spicy everything got, there were a couple of really close calls, and I think drivers might have learned from them in stage 1. I think they're going to chill out for a little bit, especially given these drivers know they can't make it to the conclusion of stage 2 as it sits on fuel.
All right, pace car down and out of the way. Matt Semple on the inside line. Brad Holmes, the leader, up on the outside lane. Brad Holmes going to have control of this restart as they come into the restart zone here on the front stretch of Talladega Superspeedway for the season finale of the Tuesday Night Thunder Championship Truck Series. Everybody's down and out of the way, 4 gears strong, up past the start-finish line. Brad Holmes has a great lead over Paxton Frith, who's now made his way up into second place, as I expect to see these drivers drop down, and yes, they do put Greg Mitchell to the first car up on the outside lane.
Very spread out on the restart. Greg Mitchell going to be the big loser, the only driver on the outside. Now just waiting for any other drivers to pull up behind him or for a gap to form. It's not there. The entire field, sans about 4 or 5 cars, are on the bottom line, and there is not a gap in sight, not until someone feels kind enough to the 55 to let him slot on in, and this is a telltale sign of some fuel saving.
Yeah, Lee Campbell all over the back of the 65 of Chris Letts. Greg trying to find a spot down here, not able to find one just yet. Greg Mitchell has fallen back to the 8th place running position. There's a couple of spots back there, Arie, that Greg could probably slot into, but those spots fill up quickly.
They certainly do, and we might see a couple of drivers on the outside, maybe the likes of Camilli, maybe the likes of Music and even Todorov out there. A couple of drivers might see this as an opportunity to go off strategy. While everyone else is trying so hard to stretch their fuel, why not go up there and get the track position? You know they're not running at 100%. That makes making the passes a lot easier, and if a caution flies, well, all of a sudden that just went your way.
Lee Campbell jumps up behind the 55, going to give the outside lane some help. They have got the Jarrett Kiemele and the number 33 help in the outside lane, followed by a 4th car of Theodore Todorov. Steven Music got 10 car lanes back for the outside lane of 4 working cars right now. And I tell you what, they're making the outside lane work right now. They're now up to side by side with Matt Semple for 3rd place. And this is probably the best that we've seen the outside lane run all night. But again, you could be thinking about
it absolutely is the best we've seen the outside go. Greg Mitchell now toe-in-toe with Paxton Frith, the 2nd car on the inside. Remember that top 3, that order has been changed around from how it started this race. Brad Holmes in the lead. He's now got to think about Greg Mitchell on the outside. He feigns a block, stays on the inside as Greg Mitchell now pulls alongside the 00 and looks to edge that nose ahead, going for the track position, as is driver 60, Lee Campbell, looking to race his way into the playoffs.
First time we've seen a challenge for the lead from the outside lane, and it's being charged by Greg Mitchell right now with help in the rearview mirror from the 60 of Lee Campbell. Jarrett Kiemele started 24th on the grid out here tonight, currently runs in the 4th place running order. Great opening laps for the 33 of Jarrett Kiemele. And Jarrett's coming back after a long time. Jarrett can't always race in the summer, does some real-life farming work. And, you know, come the winter time, Jarrett breaks out the wheel, and he comes out here to the Cyber Thunder Racing League and having a great debut, or a re-debut, I suppose, here tonight at Talladega.
Great showing, as always, from Jarrett, a great Superspeedway racer, as we've come to see. And up on the high side, he's going to be pushing the 60 of Lee Campbell to maybe the lead. The 60's got that nose out ahead, and if Lee Campbell can lead a lap here, that's going to be another point in the bank.
Let's take a look here, side by side between the 60 and the 55. Does look like the 60 is out ahead, but the inside lane's got a little bit stronger of a line going right now. Actually, Lee Campbell's going to get put in a 3 wide situation at the line. I still think he led that lap.
He does indeed.
Maybe not in the most optimal way, though.
Going to be one more point on my whiteboard for Lee Campbell. That moves his advantage to 6 points ahead of Mike Stiverson as we run. And Lee Campbell just in time, too, because he gets shuffled out of line on that outside. He's going nowhere fast. Meanwhile, up front, Greg Mitchell continues to lead that inside line. All the while, Jarrett Camillian, the 33, on the outside line. Now the driver looking to take control with help from Theodore Todorov.
What a night for the 22 out here tonight, Arie. I know that we're only 28. We're going to be 29 laps in here in about 15 seconds or so, but what a night for Paxton Frith. What a night for Theodore Todorov. What a night for the 33 of Jarrett Camillian. A lot of underdogs that we don't always talk about on a regular basis here in the Cyber Thunder Racing League having a strong showing out here tonight.
They are, and it's always great to see when some of these drivers have their time to shine. Drivers like Paxton Frith, who's been up in the top 3 for the entire night so far. It's always good to see new names getting thrown into the mix, and names who aren't necessarily new, but are finding themselves a good opportunity.
The inside lane still being led by Greg Mitchell, Brad Holmes, Paxton Frith. That's the top 3 as they run. You got to go about 2 more rows back before you find the outside lane being led by Jarrett Camillian, Theodore Todorov, Mike Stiverson also up in the mix. Drivers on the outside lane, we've seen it a couple of times tonight, Arie. It's almost like maybe they miss the entry to turn number 3, and then it kind of causes a shuffle behind them, a little bit of a kerfuffle, and they have to kind of get relined up, and now we see about 7 cars lined up on the inside line.
Drivers are still shuffling around quite a bit. A good mix of trying to save some fuel and going for some track position. Drivers knowing that stage 2 here is going to get real complicated before too long, and all the while trying not to be the next incident, the next yellow for incident. That is got to keep that car in one piece, as the race leaders have kind of spread out from one another just a little bit. They're not really tucked nose to tail as aggressively as they were in stage 1. I think that's a big element, kind of keeping that outside line in the game.
Let's take a quick look here, Arie. The first driver that came down a second time underneath that stage 1 caution looks like it's going to be Jason Raymond, running back in 14th place. Jason Raymond has an extra lap of fuel. Cody Gibson running back in 16th has an extra lap of fuel if they do need it. Larry Bell, Phil Van Vliet, Frank DiMaggio. So several of those drivers that came down on the second time around underneath that yellow flag haven't really pushed their way forward, and I think a lot of that is they're just back there. They're kind of running half throttle right now, saying, hey, I'm committed to this strategy, and that extra lap may just get me there if it doesn't.
Oh, Brad Holmes gets turned. Brad Holmes turned down the inside into the wall. We saw him blink out momentarily, came back at a bad time, and got the push. Looks like all that contact was with the rear bumper. We'll try to get a better shot right here. You can see that truck start to get a little airborne and then continues to spin around. Let's see if we can't find the right shot here. Got Brad Holmes alive now. It looks like the damage on the rear bumper is not too bad at all, considering how hard of a hit that was. Of course, we won't know entirely till he gets on pit road and potentially has to get some damage fixed right there for the 00. But driver who is running in the top 3 gets pushed out of line, gets a little sandwich there, and all the while we tune back up to the front. Mike Stiverson, playoff hopeful, First driver out trying to race Lee Campbell now leads the outside line, and he's going to look to try and lead a lap to score a point to level out the fact that Lee Campbell just did that a handful of laps ago. We'll see what that 20 truck can do. He's got a great drafting track racer on his rear bumper in Gary Bowman, driver the 8. Another driver who could definitely use a good run.
Yeah, Gary Bowman, one of the best super speedway racers that Cyber Thunder has to offer. I tell you what, Arie, Casey Tomlinson. Casey's kind of a little bit of a wild man, right? But Casey Tomlinson finished 3rd in the season opener at Daytona. Currently finds his way up in 7th. Casey, we were talking to Casey before tonight's race, and Casey just said, I'm going to run in the back. I'm going to let everybody else kind of do their thing, and I'm going to take the holes when I find them. I'm going to put my truck in a good position when it's not a risk. And so far through the first 33 laps of tonight's race, it's working out for him, running in the top 10.
That it is. It's working out pretty good. Not used to seeing the 52 truck come up here early on in these plate races, usually a late race charger, but up here now and throwing his name into the hat. All the while on the inside line, Greg Mitchell continues to lead this race. Paxton Frith on his bumper. On the outside, it's Mike Stiverson trying to find enough momentum, trying to find the run, wants to try and lead a lap for that extra bonus point.
While all this is happening, there's a little bit of a second pack that is kind of formed up, and it looks like it's going to be led by Chris Rose, Corey Sherman back here, running in about the 22nd, 23rd place position back here. They're running maybe about a half a second off of the race leaders, kind of just allowing some opportunity for things to happen in front of them, and have the opportunity to miss it if that does happen, as we have just about 15 laps to go in stage number 2, as we're going to start lap number 35 here, but on board with Chris Rose right now. Right now, they're not in too much trouble here, Arie, because they've got 7 or 8 cars in this pack right here. They just need to just stay lined up, and they know they got a caution coming here in a couple of laps.
Yeah, these guys are just saving fuel right now. They're just riding far enough back. They're just making sure that no matter what happens in front of them, they're good to go. And down the backstretch right here, speaking of good to go, Mike Stiverson fancying a shot at the race lead. As we head down into turn 3, he's going to need a lot of help right here unless he can close in and side draft the 55. He's going to be on the quarter panel through turns 3 and 4. This 1 point for leading a lap could make all the difference by the time it's over. And Gary Bowman here is going to get a little bit of momentum to push that 20 truck ahead. Who's it going to be at the line? Remember, we've got to go past the tri-oval. The momentum shifts back to the 55. And I do believe at the line, Greg Mitchell still leads this race. Stiverson doing everything he can.
The driver out of Virginia, Gary Bowman, makes his way in 4th place right now. We'll see if Gary is able to carry the momentum down the backstretch here and help the 20. Yes, he does, and that is going to be beneficial for the number 20. Greg Mitchell down up on the bottom lane, being pushed by Paxton Frith. Still having a great night for the number 7 Ford F-150 of Paxton. Now the momentum once again switches back to the inside lane. It's almost like, what do you want here, Arie? Because the outside has it on the exit and the inside has it on the entry. So it's a game of chess out here between these drivers.
That it is. Mike's just going to be hoping that momentum on the outside line can form just in time for him to edge that nose ahead at the line. Is it going to be this time by? It's going to be close, but no. Yet again, missing by just a handful of inches. And now the pack further behind Tom. They're getting a lot closer together. And oh, by the way, 3 wide as that pack that we were talking about a little bit ago riding behind. They've decided, hey, we want a part of this action. Corey Sherman, who is a couple laps off the lead lap. We got Chris Rose up here, Dustin Ping a little further back. A bunch of drivers who were in that single file train. They are now here to mix it up.
And you have 3 wide for about 4 or 5, maybe 6 rows deep as these drivers come down into turn number 1. Mike Stiverson, as far ahead as he's been of the 55 the entire time, he's actually going to be able to slot down in front of the number 55. So Mike Stiverson looks to take a lap lead out here tonight. Looks like he's going to do it on lap number 37, as the 20 give him a bonus point for the playoffs, those ever so important bonus points.
Don't look now, but here comes the outside line. Cody Gibson, with the help of Corey Sherman and Chris Rose, they're going to move down to that middle line, the traditional outside, but they made it happen all the way up in that third line. A couple of new faces up in the picture. A reminder that that 3 truck, black and highlighter green, is a couple of laps down, so Cody Gibson's got a nice buffer to anyone else for position behind him. He's going to look to try and take the lead from Stuyvesant, who did, to your point, secure that extra point, puts him back to a 5-point gap to the 60 truck.
Mike Stuyvesant under fire from Cody Gibson up on the outside lane. Corey Sherman trying to become, he's got a caution coming here in 12 laps that we know. Corey Sherman is currently 4 laps down. He's still going to need some help, right? But if he can somehow position himself in front of the race leaders at the time of the caution, he will get a lap back the hard way. And then, how many other cars are a lap down? We've got at least 25 on the lead lap. We have got Corey, so Corey would actually be the first car a lap down. This is long game here for Corey.
That it is, and I'm just not realizing Dustin Ping is a handful of laps down as well up here in the mix. A couple of drivers who, you know what, Tom, probably trying to get one of those laps back the hard way to throw their name back up with a shot at this race a little bit later on. Corey Sherman wants to lead this pack. That puts him 1 less lap down. If a caution were to come out right now, he would technically get 2 of those laps back.
Yeah, he would get the wave around on this caution, then he would get another free pass at the stage caution. So a caution right now would be best case scenario for Corey Sherman. Whether or not that happens, I don't know. If I'm Mike Stuyvesant, I don't necessarily hate Corey dropping down in front of me because we don't know that these drivers are good on fuel. We know that they're close. We know that a couple of drivers pit the second time on the stage 1 caution. So Corey Sherman in front of me as the race leader, best case scenario for the 20.
That's exactly what was crossing my mind. If I'm Mike Stuyvesant, I'm feeling pretty comfortable right here. The car in front isn't for position. You're leading the race. You've got a little bit of draft to use. You can manage your fuel. You've got a driver who's effectively a teammate on your rear bumper. No contest on the outside line. This is pretty picture perfect for driver 20, who is going to pull off
on pit road.
Onto pit road.
Gonna come on pit road.
We can try and there we go. That's a
right, so
solid chunk of cars.
Yeah, you got 7 cars coming down here on pit road. So, all right, so I guess that kind of answers that question. Are drivers comfortable enough to make it on fuel without saving or any sort of concern there? The answer is no, at least for the race leaders. Keep in mind, Cody Gibson, Jason Raymond, and about 10 other drivers do have an extra lap of fuel. Corey Sherman's actually going to come down on pit road this time. He's calling it out.
Interested to see who all elects to come down this time by. How big are the packs that pit together? The drivers who just made their stop starting to come off. We had a couple fuel onlys. We had a couple 2 tire stops. And then a couple of drivers electing for 4. Here we go. Then Corey Sherman pulls off towards the inside. And may be a pretty quiet pit road for the 3. There's a couple of drivers behind the 09 of Steven Music, namely, but most of the pack stays out yet again. And I tell you what, Tom, all of these drivers staying out, it's one thing if you've got a pretty good pack going, but these guys are spread out so far that I feel like the guys who pit that first time, they're going to have a big advantage.
Yeah, let's take a quick look. So obviously this is only 2 cars versus the 15 or so that are in that lead pack right now, but Greg Mitchell, Mike Stuyvesant, I would not want to be between those 2 cars because Greg is giving Mike the beans here on the front stretch here. Now, ultimately, are they running faster than the lead pack? Probably not with just 2 cars. If they had 3 or 4 cars, maybe. But
it's an interesting point. These drivers elect to stay out. Again, how far are they willing to push it? There is always the chance, as we see Dufton, Caldwell, and Amanda Sherman come down on pit road, there is always the chance, Tom. Do you think it might cross some drivers' minds that they only need enough fuel to make it to the designation and just bank on a caution?
That's a possibility, but that's not a roll of the dice that I want to take. That's like saying you got to roll snake eyes. And
it is a long shot.
It is a long shot. I mean, that is very much a real possibility. If we do get a caution on or after lap number 45, that is the stage. And drivers do know that. They are made aware of that before the race. Whether or not that's something that, that they're thinking about right now, yet to be determined, but they're coming up to lap Brad Holmes, who was involved in there earlier in the season.
This pack electing to stay out on track yet again. Last time, the majority of these drivers pit was lap 21 to 22. We are now working lap 44. We are at the very edge of the pit window. 3 drivers came down this time by. Dave Gainforth, Frank DiMaggio, and Brian Dorsey were the 3 who elected to come down. Mike Stiverson, Greg Mitchell, the first 2 of the sequence, they find themselves 34 seconds back of the race lead.
Leaders coming down pit road this time. Heard the 52, the 16, the 7, the 92. So it looks like that call has been answered. Race leaders coming down onto pit lane this time, going to be led by Paxton Frith.
All right. Now it's time to hit your marks and definitely not the driver in front of you as we bring the entire pack down all at once. And let's see how this goes. Drivers trying to figure it out. Dustin Ping hard into the inside wall, trying to get it woed up, but it looks like for the most part, everyone else is going to find their way onto pit road in what was overall, Tom, a pretty good group pit stop.
Yeah, I mean, you had a casualty of Dustin Ping there. May have been some additional issues, but now let's keep an eye on Mike Stiverson and Greg Mitchell. So they're in as this turns 3 and 4. This is turns 3 and 4. Where are... All right, so Theodore Todorov, one of the lone cars, still out on track right now.
Well, there we have it. They're going to have a huge advantage over some of these drivers.
Yeah, as they're able to make their way around. Is that Cody Gibson directly in front of them? Cody Gibson, correct. So they're going to jump up to at least 4th and 5th place running position, and Gary Bowman is not too far out in front of them.
Watching from the back of Ed Jurgen, Gary's racing buddy. These are going to be the lead cars, but maybe not for long, because here comes Mike Stiverson with the help of Greg Mitchell. This is for the effective race lead at this pit stop window. Will they have enough momentum to get around these 2, or are they going to stalemate?
As these drivers race side by side down here for effectively the race lead, Lee Campbell, through that round of green flag pit stops, has cycled around back to 11. So Mike Stiverson now in a position to get 9 points more than Lee Campbell if it were to end right now.
If the stage were to end right now, that would put Lee Campbell out of the playoffs and Mike Stiverson in, though we still have a handful of laps to go, 5 specifically. It looks like these front 4 have evened each other out. That is going to bring the next 2 into the picture. Jarrett Camilli, Cody Gibson, the next tandem of trucks pulling in to the equation. They are going to be there before the exit of turn 4. Where do they elect to roll? It looks like they're going to split 1 in each of the lanes, and now we have got 6 drivers up front.
Make the lanes 3 and 3 as they come through the tri-oval to begin lap number 47 of 88 out here this evening, as we are now past the halfway point. Mike Stiverson going to lead another lap out here with 4 laps remaining in the stage. Got Greg Mitchell working the back bumper of the number 20, and you got to go back about 3 seconds before you find the next pack of drivers. That's Rick Thompson, Brad Collins, Phil Van Vliet, and these drivers, if those drivers up there can't get situated here in the next lap or 2, they may have an opportunity, an outside opportunity at best, to catch that from the pack. It's a chance.
It's a chance, and one of the drivers towards the front of this pack is Lee Campbell in the 60. He knows Mike Stiverson is up there just about leading this race, and that 60 truck, he's going to do everything he can to at least lead this pack and stop the bleeding in regards to the stage points. We're going to see how this plays out as this time by at the line. It is going to be 3 laps to go in stage number 2.
Ed Jurgen, the 2-time Saga 500 winner, leading the inside lane with help from Gary Bowman directly on the inside. Jarrett Keemley in the number 33 working the inside, while you got Stiverson, Mitchell, and Gibson on the outside lane, 3 and 3. And I tell you what, we've seen the outside lane come and go all night, but for even lanes and an even number of cars, this is the strongest that the outside lane has looked all night long, because the outside lane doesn't have that moving around that we saw in the larger pack.
Yeah, it seems like that stability on the outside line seems to be the most important factor, as now Mike Stiverson has cleared that inside line. He's going to remain on the outside, bringing along the 55 and the 1. We'll see if the 55 gets clear or not. It would be a big opportunity if so. Yes, indeed. The top 2 get clear. They're going to drop down in front. They do leave Cody Gibson out to dry. I'm sure Greg Mitchell's not thinking twice about that one.
Greg Mitchell pushes the 20 to the lead with 2 laps to go in the stage, as we're looking for lap number 50 before we see the second batch and final batch of stage points handed out here tonight. Greg Mitchell, Mike Stiverson protecting the inside lane, but Gary Bowman, Ed Jurgen, and Jared Keemley, now they're going to jump up to the outside lane. Stiverson's going to jump up to the outside lane, throw a little bit of a block on the backstretch here. How is this going to turn out? Ed Jurgen's going to break up the teammates of the 8 and the 92.
Interesting way to shuffle it up. That was a good call from Mike. He didn't have 2 cars behind him. He had only 1. That was not going to go well. Elects to block the outside line right there. It was a good, well-timed block. Enough time to react from Jurgen, who decides to go to the inside. Now he's going to pull to the outside, and we are back to the original 3x3 running order, but invert the lines as Ed Jurgen in the 92 leads across the line. White flag in stage 2.
I don't think Ed Jurgen can leave Gary Bowman up on the outside lane if Ed wants to drop down here to try to take a race, to try to take a stage win. But the difference now is that Cody Gibson has jumped up to the outside lane, put 4 cars up on the outside, 2 on the bottom, and a lot of separation between the 55 and the 20. Not so much between the 8 and the 92 right now.
That bottom line is going nowhere fast, but let's not forget it's a real long lap. They're going to have some draft right here as we come back around. Cody Gibson held out on the outside line as Ed Jurgen leads now the 20 of Stiverson to the back of the 33 out of turn 4. We might have 3 lines at the line.
Gary Bowman closing to the back bumper of Ed Jurgen as they come across the start-finish line here through the tri-oval. Looks like Ed Jurgen's going to pick up the stage win as we're going to wait for the 10th place running car to come across the line, and that's when drivers see the yellow flag. Lee Campbell comes across the line in 9th.
I tell you what, with how that last lap played out, this brings our 2 cutoff drivers closer together, but I do think Lee Campbell is still the driver in with that effort. We'll wait to see where all of the drivers are told to organize themselves. We do know that Mike Stiverson will be scoring 5 stage points in stage number 2. And Lee Campbell is, what is that, 3 points?
I tell you what, Arie, we're talking about Campbell and Stiverson a lot. One driver that came in close on the cutoff line, no stage points out here tonight. That's the 43 of Mr. Anderson.
That's right. That is certainly
I hear
the
you
case.
running for the whiteboard.
Yeah, I'm writing on my whiteboard as we speak.
I put Arie in charge of the math out here tonight. Arie's got a whiteboard that she keeps track of the points. But one thing that we know for certain is that Ed Jurgen, winner of stage number 2, the 2-time Cyber 500 winner, always a threat when you get to the super speedways. Gary Bowman, Jared Keemley, the top 3.
You're not going to believe this. You're not going to believe this one, Tom. After all of that chaos, they are once again separated by the same 3 points they entered tonight with.
Incredible. And if you're Mike Stiverson, if you're Lee, you just say, what was that even worth then?
Absolutely. I tell you what it was worth. Lee Campbell in 10th place, now only 10 points behind Eric Anderson in 9th.
Okay, so now the math becomes easy. It's 1 point per position. Eric has not let a lap out here tonight. Lee already has, so Lee cannot get any more bonus points out here aside from leading the most laps or a race win. So Lee's job is easy. Give me 10 spots in front of the 43.
That's right. Rick Thompson scored 4 stage points that time. That brings his stage point tally to 36 in the wild card. It wasn't enough to catch Eric Anderson's 40 in the stage point count, so that was another thing that I was kind of keeping my eye on. That remains unchanged.
We did the math here on the Cyber Thunder Broadcast Network, so you don't have to. But driver's going to come down onto pit road, being led by Ed Jurgen, Gary Bowman on the pit road lane here. Jarrett Keemley going to come in third, and then you have a little bit of a separation back to fourth place of Cody Gibson.
All right, Tom. End of stage 2, final guaranteed yellow. Are you taking 4 tires?
Yeah, I'll probably take 4 tires here under the yellow flag condition, because that will then allow me to possibly take 2 or no tires on a fuel stop halfway through this third stage. We do believe that the fuel window is going to open up on or around lap number 66. We're working lap number 51 right now, so drivers have about 15 laps before they see the possibility of a fuel run to the finish.
Well, I tell you what, based on what I'm seeing so far, Tom, we've got no tires for Frank DiMaggio, maybe 2. 8 seconds, that might be 2 tires. For sure 2 tires for Ed Jurgen, Gary Bowman, Jarrett Camilli, Rick Thompson. Then we get to our 4-tire crowd, starting with Greg Mitchell, Cody Gibson. So a couple of split strategies.
Going to be interesting and fun to see how this plays out as the last stage. Only 38 laps long, longer than the 2 that we have done so far, but these drivers going to have their hands full these next 38 laps to determine our championship 12.
This is shaping up to be quite the battle. I tell you what, I've got an interesting idea here, Tom. You ever done a double interview before?
I have not.
All right, well, I tell you what, why don't we bring the 2 drivers most in question into the call together? We're going to do this 2 at a time between Mike Stiverson and Lee Campbell. You guys, we've been watching and doing the math for your playoff battle this entire race. Through all of the chaos, through the stage points, through the laps led for both of you guys, you entered this race 3 points apart, and you still find yourself 3 points apart. Lee in and Mike out at the moment. We'll start with Mike, and then we'll go to Lee. What have been your thoughts on the race so far, and do you think you got what it takes?
So we've been trying to do the math ourselves because Lee's my pseudo teammate, right? So we've been trying to figure out a way to get us both in. I think I'm good on wildcard points, I think. So now it's all about getting Lee into the playoffs.
Oh, that is a very good point. As a matter of fact, yeah, you would be, if you're the first one out, you will be wild card, and if you are in, Lee is for sure out. So that's going to be what it comes down to. You know, in all of the math Tom and I did, we didn't even consider you guys working together to both get in, but here we are. I will put this out there before we jump to you, Lee. You are now only 10 points away from Eric in 9th.
I think Eric was running probably 20 or worse, so as long as he can stay back there, that's my hope.
Absolutely.
Just gotta try to get up front.
I tell you what, you've been doing a pretty good job of it so far. One of the most aggressive trucks out there on track so far tonight, making some good moves. We'll send you back down with the team. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Now you know they're down there right now scratching their heads saying, did we miscalculate this? Let's recap the race out here tonight so far. 2 stage cautions, 1 incident caution involving the 07 and the 76 early in tonight's race, lap number 3, lap number 4, somewhere in those first 5 laps. And then the 2 stage cautions. We have been green ever since. And now we're going to have just under 38 laps to go, probably closer to 35 laps to go to finish out tonight's race to determine who makes the Scrambler Series and who sits on the sidelines for these next 7 weeks in the Tuesday Night Thunder Championship Truck Series. Arie, I tell you what, all the points are out of the window. The job is easy now. Get up there, finish in front of the other one.
Certainly the case. I don't think there's anything more that Rick Thompson can do in the 76. He'll be starting in P4 on this restart. I think his only way in was via trying to get the wild card, but that also required a couple other dominoes. In the meanwhile, the pace car is going to pull off. That's Ed Jurgen in control of the field alongside Gary Bowman on the inside. And for the 3rd time tonight, we are beginning a stage. Green flag is in the air.
Ed Jurgen, Gary Bowman going to lead us to the green flag, to the stripe, to begin lap number 55 of 88 out here tonight. The teammates on opposite lanes of the speedway right now. Ed Jurgen's going to hold the outside lane. He's got Rick Thompson directly behind him. Rick Thompson's actually going to slot down in second place, put Gary Bowman back to a third place running position, fourth place running position, as Cody Gibson puts the muscle down up on the outside with power from the 60 of Lee Campbell.
Down the back straightaway, these trucks scream. Ed Jurgen in control of the race, but it might not be for long. Here comes Cody Gibson with the help of Lee Campbell on the outside line. We got a couple of new names up towards the front. Rick Thompson on board with Philip Van Vliet right now as well, starting to make their way up towards the front when it is go time. Ed Jurgen leads that bottom line. Cody Gibson on the outside.
Philip Van Vliet, the lone Dutchman, carries row number 3 of lane number 2. And you can see these drivers jockeying for position as they come across the start-finish line. Cody Gibson going to lead what I believe is going to be his first lap of the night. Lee Campbell now has some clean air up on the nose of that Ford F-150. If he's able to drop down in front of Cody Gibson, that's going to give a pretty big advantage to Lee Campbell. But does he wait for Philip Van Vliet to do that? I think he may just wait for Philip here. Never mind.
Never mind on that one. Lee Campbell wants that inside line. He's been shuffled out once before. Give the outside control to Philip Van Vliet in the 89. We are 3 wide with 1 driver further back. That's Larry Bell on the outside of Rick Thompson and Gary Bowman. Up front, Jason Raymond now trying to push the 89 out front to give himself some clean air.
Driver's going to come across the start-finish line this time. Phil Van Vliet has the lead of the race as it runs right now. Jason Raymond up on the outside lane. Phil Van Vliet may get overtaken at the start-finish line. No, Phil Van Vliet going to lead that lap. Phil Van Vliet in the 89 going to drop down in front of the 60 of Campbell as they enter the turn number 3, working lap number 57. Teammates up on the outside lane. Tanner Marr, first time we've said that name all night. Tanner Marr and Jason Raymond working the top side. They got Rick Thompson in a sucker hole right behind.
They're trying to bring their teammate Larry Bell on that third line and at the expense of Rick Thompson, but I tell you what, he's going to get help from the pole sitter. Matt Semple, stage 1 winner as well, now back up into the picture, pushing that 76 up through that middle line right there, and they're going to have a pretty good line as that third line can't figure it out. They're 4 wide for half a second. Those 2 teammates got to get it figured out. That's bringing that middle line all the way up and through. Lee Campbell jumps back up into the middle to overtake Philip Van Vliet.
You're looking at a battle for about, well, I guess we'll call it about the 12th place running position as they run right now. Casey Tomlinson still running up inside the top 5 as they run through turns 1 and 2. They are 3 and possibly even 4 wide at times behind here. A little bit of separation now. Gary Bowman has found his way single file back behind Ed Jurgen directly in front of him. Logan Spencer up in this mix as well. Matt Semple led a bunch of laps in the opening stage of tonight's race. But the outside lane trying to make a move up in lane number 3, not able to do it just yet. They're actually bleeding positions here on the entry to 3.
I'll be honest, Tom, I cannot believe how dicey the field is right now to start stage 3. This looks like what it should look like in the final 10 laps, but we've still got 30 to go.
30 laps to go this time by, and at least 1 fuel stop that we know that these drivers need to make. Remember, they can run anywhere between 22 to 24 laps on fuel out here. So when does that pit window open? Let's also not forget that these drivers, they've got 3 attempts at overtime finishes out here tonight. That very well could very much change the picture of the finishing race.
That it will, and if we have green flag pit stops, one of the biggest questions you've got to ask yourself is, do you take the minimum amount of fuel to have the fastest pit stop, or do you take enough fuel to cover 3 green-white checkers? If you do so, you're probably going to lose a little bit of track position.
You do, but on the flip side of that, you put yourself in a position to maybe be good for 1 or maybe even 2 green-white checkers. So it's a risk-versus reward that these drivers are going to have to calculate.
That is the case, and I'm glad I'm not having to calculate it myself tonight and get up here and get to be up here and watch the chaos. All the while, look who's found his way back into the front. It's Matt Semple, driver of the 16, pole sitter, stage 1 winner. Back up front when it counts, and he does have one of his racing buddies on his rear bumper. That's Logan Spencer in the 19, a driver who we haven't really mentioned yet tonight, alongside Chris Rose in the 07. Don't forget, he had issues early on in that very first caution. He is on the lead lap. He is in 3rd place as we run.
Issues, Cody Gibson on the backstretch, contact with Lee Campbell. Ed Jurgen, Andrew Caldwell gets involved. And
Gary
a lot of drivers.
Bowman.
We have the big one at Talladega.
The big one at Talladega, multiple drivers involved, none least of which some playoff contenders, and we are going to need to rewind the tapes quite a bit and find out exactly what happened to cause this issue. Let's see if we can go back in time. It looks like it happened primarily between the one and somebody else. I can't say that I know. Let's see if we can get a good overhead shot. So we've got Jason Raymond in the 49 pushing Cody Gibson. He just pushes a little too far on the right of that rear bumper. Those two are teammates. Gibson goes into the 60 of Campbell. Right now, everyone's checking up behind. They see what's happening. They're feeling uneasy. Cody Gibson's trying to get out of the way, but Lee Campbell, he's out of control. When you're going that fast, Lee Campbell's not trying to wreck the one. He cannot slow down and turn fast enough. He gets into the 1, the 92 into the 8. The 89 gets hit. The 3's got nowhere to go. The 7's got nowhere to go. The 8's got nowhere to go. And all the while, we've got wrecks happening behind. We've got wrecks happening up here. The 60's involved. The 8, the 1, the 33, the 00, the 55 in the grass, the 92, the 47, the 20 of Mike Stiverson, the 67 of Collins, the 88 and the 09 just scraping through. We've got multiple incidents to keep an eye on from what happened here. I would love to see, if we can, a onboard shot from one of the drivers who was caught up a little further back, Andrew Caldwell. You can see this is just a product of having a wreck happen in front of you and then getting run over from behind. Not enough time for drivers to check up. Let's watch this on board with the 60, one of our playoff contenders here, the 60 of Lee Campbell. Lot of smoke, a lot of cars going every which way, and for the 60 truck, I wonder how bad that damage is going to be. I can't see any terminal damage from this spot right here, but it does look like the entire field has come down pit road in the meantime. Some good damage on the front right of the 60. The 46 has got some severe damage from that incident. Let's go ahead and catch back up with our race leaders now. An interesting situation has presented itself. The top 3, Semple, Spencer, Rose, did not come down for a pit stop that time around. 4th on back, starting with Rick Thompson, took at least fuel and a handful. You got to go all the way back to 10th place. Jason Raymond on back took 4 tires. From this point, we're working lap 61 out of a total of, I want to say 88 laps this evening. 88 indeed. 61 to 88 is still out of the fuel window, more or less. So these guys get themselves a lot closer, but it is still going to be, it's still going to come down to one more stop for fuel, more than likely.
Well, Arie, that our second incident caution of the evening, couple of stage cautions have slowed the race between lap 1 and lap 60. But our second incident caution of the night, our big one, and if I'm drivers like Mike Stiverson, if I'm drivers like Tanner Marr, maybe Chris Rose, maybe Greg Mitchell, Casey Tomlinson, I just saw that happen all around me, and somehow I got away fairly clean out of that. But it makes me a little bit nervous here for these remaining 20 laps.
That it does. I'm trying to get some insight on some of the damage that we have for some of these drivers. Some good chunks missing out of the one car right there. The 60, you can see Lee Campbell. He's got a pretty injured right front right there, but I think Lee will be all right. Same with Mike, the 2 playoff drivers we've been watching so much. We do have some more drivers on pit road looking to top off here. Jason Raymond, Amanda Sherman, Greg Mitchell, to name a few. They're going to try and get they are getting as close as they can to try and have an outside shot of stretching enough.
All right, so we restack, we repack, and we reline up to go racing once again out here tonight on the Cyber Thunder Broadcast Network. Taking a quick look at the Scrambler Series that these drivers are going to fight their way through. We begin the Scrambler Series on December 30th at the old Atlanta Motor Speedway, followed by Kentucky, Richmond, Pocono, and then we got Texas, Michigan, before we settle the championship at America's Home for Racing at Charlotte Motor Speedway out here on the Cyber Thunder Broadcast Network. We're going to be with you every single week. If you're enjoying tonight's broadcast, make sure you hit that like button, get notified every time we go live, and follow the battles all season long.
Should be a great time. The Scrambler Series is going to be something brand new that we're bringing out, and should be a lot of fun for these drivers. None least of which the drivers who we might often consider underdogs. I think, first names that come to mind, Andrew Caldwell, Matt Semple, I think two drivers that might really shine in the Scrambler.
Well, we'll see how it plays out, but the Scrambler Series is unforgiving, and consistency might just be enough to get you through, or it might be what gets you eliminated. That is the question that these drivers are going to have to answer over the next 7 weeks, but the field going to be led back to the green flag by Logan Spencer, Matt Semple, and Chris Rose. The top three drivers did not pit this time by. Everybody else in the field has about 9-lap fresher tires, not so important, but more fuel.
Pace car's off, and once again, we are going to throw that green flag. Matt Semple on the outside is the control car. He's got Logan Spencer to his inside, row 2, Chris Rose and Rick Thompson. Green flag is officially out. We are on the loud pedal. Let's see how close together the field can remain on this restart. It's going to have a big impact as to how the pack forms up. It looks like Rick Thompson left to dry on the outside. Most drivers fancying the inside line.
Matt Semple's going to open up about a 2-truck length lead over Logan Spencer as that gap begins to close through turns 1 and 2. Chris Rose all over the back of the number 19. Rick Thompson in 4th place running position in front of teammate Brad Collins as they run. That's the top 5. Let's give a shout out here real quick while he's there. Dave Gainforth running 6th out here tonight. This would be Dave's first win in the Cyber Thunder Racing League if he's able to make it happen out here tonight. I believe he's sitting at 0 and 400 and is it like 483, something like that?
I don't know, but I tell you what, if Dave gets a win before he gets to 500 on the winless streak, I'll be slightly disappointed and mostly happy for him, but 500 would be quite the number to hit for Mr. Gainforth. I think we all want to see that 101 truck in victory lane before too long.
Absolute Dave, a Cyber Thunder Hall of Famer out here, been around the longest of anybody out here in that yellow and red 101 Ford F-150 out here tonight, and he's got an opportunity to make it happen out here tonight. But before he sees the checkered flag out here tonight, he's got some cars in front of him. That is still Brad Collins, Rick Thompson, Chris Rose, Logan Spencer, Matt Semple. They have shuffled out to be the single file lead pack right now of about 6 cars, but now we got an outside lane running with Brian Dorsey leading the charge.
A new name to lead one of the lines is Brian Dorsey in the 9 truck with help from Nathan Dufton and Ed Jurgen, but with only 3 trucks, you're probably not going to be able to go too far unless that inside line is saving enough fuel. We can see that most of the entire field is spread out on the bottom line. That tells me it's fuel saving time for these drivers, and even though they can't stretch it to the absolute end of the race without another pit stop, one thing they will be keeping in mind here, Tom, is if they save as much as possible, that shortens their pit stop time under green, and that makes all the difference.
It does, and you could be talking anywhere on pit road from a 1.5 seconds faster to maybe even 3 seconds faster, depending on how much less fuel you need, and I mean, that could be huge. Typically, these trucks start to pick up a draft somewhere in the realm of 0.6 back. So if you can come out 0.7, 0.8 a second in front of the car, the car behind you, they're going to need some help to catch you. So a 3-second gap here would be huge.
it would be almost insurmountable. We see Philip Van Vliet making his way off of pit road, likely one of the drivers involved in the big one recently. And I will say, all things considered, you know, we did just have the big one. Most of the drivers came out with only light damage, so we still have most of the field out on the lead lap, which is pretty promising for the finish of this race.
We do. Another driver I want to highlight here real quick, Eric Anderson. We talked about him missing stage points in stage 1 and 2. And perhaps putting himself kind of into a danger zone in terms of the playoff points, because Eric is actually below on the wild card, so he would not have a second path into the playoffs. But Eric Anderson, 68 laps down, and we now see the 43 up in the top 10 for the first time tonight.
Just in time, too, because the 60 and the 20 were both involved in that last incident. They find themselves towards the back of the pack, so this would just secure Eric's good run here tonight and all but lock him in, as we see Dave Gainforth looking to make a move. Now, there is a sentence we don't get to say too much.
Dave Gainforth is going to get some help from Brian Dorsey in the number 9 Ford F-150 directly behind him. Dave Gainforth runs in 7th place right now. A little bit of a stack up behind the 101 and the 9, the 92, and the 00. Had to get up and out of the gas just a little bit. That's going to allow the inside lane to pull a little bit of momentum that they didn't have a moment ago. The outside lane of Dorsey and Gainforth going to have to restack, repack as they come across the start-finish line to begin 69. 20 laps to go in tonight's race.
20 laps to go, and Matt Semple is our race leader. Started in first, runs in first with help from Logan Spencer and Chris Rose on his rear bumper. That bottom line is about 6 cars clear before that outside line starts to make its run, and they are getting formed up lap by lap. There are more and more trucks piling in.
There certainly is. You got about 7 cars right now being led by Gainforth, and back to about Casey Tomlinson as the outside lane runs right now. Top side is losing a little bit of momentum here. Frank DiMaggio has made his way up into the 8th place running position on the inside lane. If I'm Dave Gainforth, at this point, Arie, 20 laps to go, going to be 19 in a second. You need to make a decision here. When do you want to pit? Because that needs to determine when you want to drop down. But 2, is this outside lane going to hurt you more than it's going to help you in your quest to set yourself up for a good spot when you see 10 laps to go?
It's a good question, and I think Dave's in a pretty okay spot leading the line at the moment. The one I'd be really concerned for is maybe Brian Dorsey, the second car on the outside line, where you feel a little more boxed in and like the situation is a little more out of your control. So we'll have to monitor that. We'll have to see how it goes. There is a gap forming ahead of Nathan Dufton on the inside right there. We'll see if anyone elects to take it. Currently 5 trucks have broken away on that inside line. It's currently Semple, Spencer, Rose, Thompson, Collins in that order. We've got 2 pairs of drivers who race together and Chris Rose in the middle of that sandwich, all surely just riding it out until that final pit stop.
Chris Rose probably monitoring the outside lane, and if we do see the outside lane start to move, I do think that the 07 would probably be the first one to jump up there and try to cut that lane off. But you also got Nathan Dufton kind of up here riding as a lone wolf out here tonight. Andrew Caldwell, Nathan's teammate, got caught up in that incident, currently runs, where is Caldwell running? Caldwell all the way back in 31st place, currently on pit road with terminal damage out here tonight. So a couple of drivers maybe needing to read the room and figure out, okay, I know these guys are teammates, I know these guys are teammates, your teammate is out, we're going to work together.
That 5-truck breakaway remains a 5-truck breakaway. Everyone further back, they're stuck 2 by 2 by 2, pulling a little bit of air and subsequently a little bit of speed off of one another as we work 17 laps to go through turns 1 and 2 here at Talladega.
Top 5 has become a top 6 breakaway with Nathan Dufton now up on the outside, kind of by himself. No additional help coming up on the outside lane, at least just yet. Brian Dorsey still trying to work Dave Gainforth over on the backstretch. They got the 2-time Cyber 500 winner of Ed Jurgen running 3rd up on the outside lane. That's a great driver to have in your rearview mirror in the closing laps of a Superspeedway race, but are you too far back to make something happen from here?
I think you're too far back, but judging by the gaps from nose to tail here, I still think most of these drivers are in fuel-saving mode. Maybe even the drivers on the outside line, at least to a degree, are in somewhat fuel-saving mode. Ed Jurgen's got a chance to drop to the inside. He will take that opportunity as we get closer and closer to when we'll have to pit. Another thing these drivers are going to be thinking is you probably don't want to make that pit stop before the yellow comes out if there's going to be another yellow. If you can try and stay out and keep that track position ahead of that chance, that opportunity, that might be what you want. But conversely, I think, now that I think about it, Tom, the track's probably big enough that if you pit and a caution comes out, you would probably be the beneficiary.
Yes, but you would almost need it to happen immediately.
That's right.
Come down on pit road. You don't have the advantage of running 4 laps by yourself and then playing that card. So there's 2 sides to that story right there. These drivers are gonna have to balance that out right now as the entire top 10 has single filed out. Dave Gainforth, the single car, up on the outside lane, looking for a spot to file back in here as we see 15 laps to go, and we are well within our fuel window here.
That's right. A pit stop from any point here on out will make it to the end. It just comes down to how much fuel these drivers want to take and if they take any tires to go alongside.
Something else to think about here, Arie. The top 3 drivers that are running out there right now, Semple, Spencer, Rose, those are the 3 drivers that did not come down on lap 61 when we had the big one, I don't know, 10 laps ago or so. So those drivers that are the top 3 right now, not only are they burning the most fuel, but they also have about 9 laps less fuel than the cars directly behind them.
9 laps less, and they're going to have to make their final pit stop within the next 3 laps. They do not have enough fuel to last any longer than that. So here's the question. These 3 have to come down sooner. Will they be fortunate enough to pull others down with them? I think for their sake, they need to hope that they can pull a couple other drivers down at the same time, and it's not just the 3 of them. We'll see how it plays out.
Hearing some calls about cars coming down on pit road this time. I heard the 43 key up. I heard maybe the 41 key up. This 00 of Brad Holmes coming down onto pit road. As there's some separation now between first and second, I got to start to think that maybe these drivers up in the lead are coming down on pit road. And they are.
Looks to be the case. We're going to bring down just about half of the pack onto pit road. Let's see how everyone gets on. The first handful are good. The middle handful are good. Everyone is good. Fantastic run on the pit road. I count 12 trucks on here, a couple close calls, but now is go time. This is the money stop.
That was the best case scenario for those 3 drivers up in the lead. They had other drivers come down on pit road with them. That could have turned out disastrous for them. And now we're going to see about 7 cars, 8, 9, 10 trailing off in the distance, as it sounds like this group of 7 or 8 going to come down this time by.
I tell you what, this pack is way too broken up at the moment. These guys are going to lose out to those who made their pit stop. They were not close enough to kind of make the most out of it. We're going to pull the track map up right here. You can see the 16 leading that pack off of pit road at the top of the track map now as we watch a couple of these drivers make their way on pit road. We're going to split the remaining pack even more apart right here. And the fewer the cars they are operating out front, the less speed that they're going to generate. And everyone does need to at least make one more pit stop who has been running out on track. So here we go then. Matt Semple, Chris Rose, they are currently leading the charge to the end post-pit sequence. They do have Logan Spencer in tow. That'll be 3 trucks with the advantage, and we'll see where they come out in comparison.
They're going to blow right by him here because Brian Dorsey is just now coming off of pit road on the entry down to turn number 1 on the apron, and Brian Dorsey's going to be all by himself. Frank DiMaggio is all by himself. So issues for the second pack that pit on pit road down here. They broke up a lot more than the first one.
That they did. Brian Dorsey actually had a great pit sequence. If he wasn't alone, he'd be sitting pretty dang good right now with driver number 9. But because these three have each other, they are going to pull up to the 9 and cruise right by him. Brian's going to have to hope he can pull back into the draft right there. The drivers behind these guys, led by Steven Music, it's another pack of 3. So you don't imagine they'll be able to make too many inroads unless Brian Dorsey falls to their rear bumper. We'll have to see as it plays out.
Taking a quick look to close the loop on the pit sequence right now. Currently first place through 14th place of Fred Thompson have yet to come down pit road. So Rick Thompson to Fred Thompson, that's a father-son duo, yet to come down pit road. The first car that has come down on pit road, Matt Semple, Chris Rose, Logan Spencer, Brian Dorsey, Steven Music, those drivers that we were just talking about. So these drivers perhaps running it as long as they can. They last came down on lap number 61. Remember, they can go about 22, 24 laps, so they probably still have another 3-4 laps in it before they are mandated to come down pit road for critical fuel.
They'll probably run it all the way out at this point. Rick Thompson desperate to try and find a way into the playoffs at this point, but I don't think there is any more shot with how the results have gone. He's got Jarek Camilli on his rear bumper, Theodore Todorov in this pack, Casey Tomlinson, and Larry Bell. Couple of names that we haven't gotten to say all too much tonight. We'll see if they elect to come down this time by with 10 laps to go on the board. No, they're going to stay out and push it as far as they can.
Tanner Marr, Greg Mitchell, Amanda Sherman, these drivers going to come down onto pit road. A little bit of a tire lockup from the 4 of Tanner Marr. Greg Mitchell in the red and white Silverado has a clean entry, as does Amanda Sherman. Jason Raymond also going to come down onto pit road as a single car. But the leaders stay out on track right now. But really the battle for the race lead is between Matt Semple, Chris Rose, Logan Spencer, Brian Dorsey. But you have to go all the way back to 15th place before you see that. They are about 35 seconds off of the race leader, but that will be made up when this pack of 6 or 7 come down onto pit road.
Through 3 and 4 this time by, we are going to find out if now is the time for these guys to duck down. Nope, they're going to stay out another lap at the line. It's going to be 8 laps remaining. All the while, Matt Semple leading the post-pit charge does get out ahead of Greg Mitchell, who looks like he is going to miss out on this lead draft right here. Greg Mitchell, he is going to have to fall further back with Amanda Sherman to the pack, including Steven Music, Andy Cork, and Ed Jurgen.
Rick Thompson continues to lead the field around right now. Second place in tow is Jared Kingley. Third place, Theodore Todorov. Casey Tomlinson currently runs in 4th. Casey, the 3rd place finisher at Daytona in the season opener. Can he better that finish out here tonight? Gonna need a little bit of help if he wants to improve on that. Larry Bell rounds out the top 5 as they run right now, but these drivers stay out another lap as we see 7 laps to go in tonight's event.
7 laps to go, and we've got multiple races that we are keeping track of. It's a 4-car breakaway in the effective race lead, and you go a little further back to another 4 trucks shuffling around trying to figure out what they need to do to catch up to the others. This field is broken apart pretty significantly at this point, and it is going to be a couple of small battles by the time we get to the very end. Once
Hearing
again,
from the race leaders next time by for the race leaders, the 76-33, possibly the 22. So expect to see at least the top 3 on pit road this time by as they cross the finish line. That's going to pass the race lead over to Casey Tomlinson, Larry Bell, if they do not follow them down onto pit road. But again, Chris Rose, Matt Semple, Logan Spencer, still effectively the drivers that are battling for the race win.
Lee Campbell, Mike Stiverson, those two are going to bring it down at the same exact time. They're running together, and as it stands, they will both make it into the playoffs tonight. One via points, the other via wild card. as we continue to watch the order shuffle around. This time by, we know we've got more pit stops with 6 laps to go.
All this is happening, and Eric Anderson is still running back in the mid-20s right now. We'll see how this shakes out where Eric comes out. Jarrett Keemley's going to take a fast entry down into pit road. Don't see any penalties being handed out to those 5 drivers that just came down. Fred Thompson, he's going to stay out an additional lap out here for Mr. Thompson, see if he is able to come down onto pit road this time. The driver, 79 years old, still comes out here on a Tuesday night and enjoys doing it. And there's not a scratch on that truck out here, Arie. What a great story it is every time we get to talk about Fred.
That's absolutely right, and I tell you what, he is going to stay out one more time, bring it around, and this will put the 79 truck in the lead, if just for a moment. He doesn't have any drafting help, but through turns 1 and 2, he's going to wave goodbye to son Rick down on the apron as the 79 of Fred Thompson takes over P1.
Fred Thompson to the race lead in that Toyota Tundra out here tonight. The father of the father-son duo of the Thompson family. Going to lead some laps out here tonight, but he's going to quickly be under fire from his son Rick Thompson, Matt Semple, Chris Rose. These drivers actually, yeah, so they're going to cycle around. And it's going to be about a 6-car battle here for the race lead once the 79 comes down pit road, and there you see him coming down pit road that time.
So it was a great pit stop by the likes of Jarrett Camilli and Larry Bell. They put themselves in the picture. Rick Thompson had a little bit of drafting help from Father Fred before he pit. That's going to put the 76 in a good enough spot to hold on to this draft. I don't imagine they will pull up to the back. No, they're going to go around the 76, but Rick should be good enough to stay in this fight, and it will become a 7-truck battle to the end.
Chris Rose all over the back of Matt Semple as the entire field has made their round of green flag pit stops out here tonight in the regular season finale. Matt Semple, Chris Rose, Logan Spencer on the backstretch enters at turn number 3. Brian Dorsey runs in 4th. Jarrett Keemley, the entire top 5 looking to get a win out here tonight. And the entire top 6, aside from Matt Semple has a win earlier this season, the entire top 6 hasn't won in a long time or ever here in the Cyber.
There are a number of drivers in this pack who have never won a race in the Cyber Thunder Racing League and have the opportunity to do so now in Talladega. Matt Semple is the favorite in this group. He is a championship contender, but what will the others do? Semple's only got one friend in this pack, and it's the 19 running in 3rd place. They're going to go around Fred Thompson exiting pit road as we work the backstretch with 3 laps remaining.
3 laps remaining. That's what these drivers see. Next time by, we're going to see Popsicle Sticks Open Speedway. Chris Rose in kind of a difficult position here because he's got teammates running 1st and 3rd, both directly in front and directly behind that 07 in 2nd place. Brian Dorsey currently runs in 4th. Jarrett Keemley in the top 5 as they run. Larry Bell and Rick Thompson, they're going to round out the top 7 drivers out here tonight as we see 2 laps to go.
2 laps to go, and into turn 1 we roll. Chris Rose all over the rear bumper of the 16. Further back in this pack, Rick Thompson wants to make a move because he knows he can't win from 7th place on the board. He's going to try and get that high side going, but nobody's going to bite quite yet. Down the back stretch we roll. He's side by side with Larry Bell. They've got to be careful that they don't lose the draft, side drafting each other for too long.
Just over 2.5 miles of racing to go out here tonight. Jarrett Keemley's going to jump up to the outside lane, try to get a move up on the outside lane going. He's got Rick Thompson trying to push him along. Not going to make any headway just yet. What do we do when we see the white flag? White flag this time by Matt Semple to the lead and Chris Rose in 2nd, waiting to make a move.
The outside line wasn't ready to work quite yet. Across the line we go. Matt Semple holds on. When is the move made, and who makes the first move through turns 1 and 2? The outside line further back trying to come together, but nothing yet.
It's got to come from somewhere like 4th place in line. Brian Dorsey has to see that outside lane coming. And there he goes, Brian Dorsey up to the outside lane. He's going to jump up, make it 3 on the outside, 4 on the inside. Separation on the inside lane. Matt Semple over the 07 on the entry to turn number 3 as the Chris Rose takes a look up to the outside, contact with Brian Dorsey, but we race on to the checkered flag.
The outside line wrecks big time. 3-4 trucks remain. Chris Rose to the outside of Matt Semple, who's got a teammate in tow. That side draft is going to have to be the strongest you've seen. They're going to doorbang Chris Rose into the outside wall. They're drifting across the line, but Matt Semple is going to hold on and put the 16 truck in victory lane for the second time this season. Old Matt Semple from Ontario gets it done, breaks the 1-win-a-season trend, and makes it happen for a second time this evening in Talladega. 7 cars to the end, surrounded by hungry underdogs looking for their first ever or first in a while. He holds on, he makes it happen, and most importantly, Matt Semple in the 16 is going to enter the Scrambler Series playoffs with a whole truckload of momentum.
Absolutely, second win on the season for Matt Semple. We're going to come out of here the big winner at Talladega, as congratulatory bumps being given to the number 16, as he's going to come around and do some donuts, and we're going to try to grab your top 3 finishers here from Talladega out here tonight. What a finish to the regular season finale out here tonight.
A quick little update on the points situation as it stands, officially unofficial. The playoff grid will be rounded out by Eric Anderson and Lee Campbell. The 2 wild cards that will make their way in are Mike Stiverson and Dustin Ping to round out our field of 12 going for the championship. Couple of burnouts down on the start-finish line here in Talladega. It does match the color scheme of that Alto Construction 16 truck that Matt Semple's been driving this season. And I do believe with that, we are ready to grab some interviews. I do believe Tom is caught up with our 3rd place finisher.
That I have. I've caught up with the 3rd place finisher out here tonight. Driver the number 07, Chris Rose. Tom and Arie up in the booth. How you doing tonight, sir?
How you doing? I'm all right. It was a kind of unfortunate end, but it's all good.
Well, we're taking another look at that finish out here tonight next to your big nose that you have out there. Driver out of New Jersey, kind of bring us through your closing laps out in tonight's race, and what was your thought process coming with 2 laps to go?
So with like 3 to go, I kind of thought about my positioning on Matt, and I saw the other pack coming up and making a new line. I had my move kind of settled, like 2 to go, 1 to go, what I wanted to do. But what I didn't think about was Logan and Matt being teammates. So I sent it out of the top of 4, and I thought Matt was gonna come up the block, and I was gonna swing right back down inside. But the thing is, they're teammates, so they just stayed together, and Logan just shoved them in front.
Yeah, that plan took a left turn there somewhere along the line. But you had a great run out here tonight. You started 23rd. Were involved in an earlier race incident, and were able to come out of that early race incident without any damage and still compete. Now we go into the Scrambler Series. You're not going to be part of the playoffs, but you still have the possibility to get a first win for that 07 out here tonight in the coming races.
Yeah, still looking for it. It's always so close to Talladega, but I'm still looking for it.
Absolutely, Chris. Well, congratulations on a podium finish out here tonight. We're going to open up the floor for you. Any hays and highs that you want to say hello to back home in Jersey?
Yeah, shout out to Alex in Arkansas. Actually, he's not even in Jersey. Shout out to Alex. He was watching the race the whole time, watching my races every week. Gives me a little bit of insight every time. It's always dope. We used to have hella teams on like Forza, so he always out here watching.
All right. Well, Chris, congratulations on a 3rd place finish out here tonight. We're going to kick you down, let you go debrief of the race, and we will see you we'll see you in 2 weeks at Atlanta. And our third place finisher, Chris Rose, going back to the hauler right now in second place, being gathered up by Arie Heinzman.
That's right. I've got our runner-up finisher tonight and teammate pusher of the year, Logan Spencer, driver the 19. You come out here, you finish 15 spots up from where you started. Towards the end there, you and a bunch of others had a great opportunity to score your very first win here in the Cyber Thunder Racing League. Of course, everything played out the way it did, sticking with your teammate there at the end, but walk me through it.
Yeah, I really just have to shout out the Maple Missile there. He said, follow me earlier in the run when we were back in 20th or whatever it was, back there somewhere in the middle of the pack. And got a little sketchy there, 3 wide, but yeah, it worked out in the end. Glad to see him win and me pull up a podium.
Certainly the case. It's a great finish for you here in the Cyber Thunder Racing League as we get ready to head into the final stretch of the season. You've got to be feeling pretty good as of your results through kind of the middle stretch of the season. I feel like we've seen that 19 car kind of get better and better as time has gone.
Yeah, working away, practicing a little bit more every chance I can get, and one day we'll be up there in the first place, but not today.
Well, I tell you what, it was a good run tonight either way, Logan. We're looking forward to that day. We're going to open up the floor to you with your P2 finish tonight to give any shout-outs, hays and highs, or anything of the sort.
Yeah, thank you guys for putting on the broadcast and running the league and all that, and thank you to the Maple Missile for guiding me up there through the racket of the field there that was going on, and all the friends and family that are watching.
Absolutely. There we have it, our P2 finisher, Logan Spencer. We're going to send down to debrief as well, and I do believe Tom is caught up with our big race winner.
I have got the Maple Missile driver number 16, Matthew Semple out of Orangeville, Ontario. Comes away with the win out here tonight in an exciting finish. Matt, bring us through your thought process once you saw the white flag.
I was really hoping if Chris made a move that the 19, my teammate there, Logan, would go with me and help me, and he did. So, yeah, I was just praying that was going to happen there. Once we took the white, I know Chris. I gotta shout him out because I mean we made that comeback run from I don't know 20th place or something like that all the way back to first with him leading the charge, pushing me. So I gotta shout out to Chris, and I think the other guys, Logan. I think Brian was in that ordeal too. A couple other guys, but yeah, I was really just hoping that if Chris made the move, it was clean, and the 19 would give me a shove there to the end. So I know there's a little bumper tag going through the tri-oval, but I think no harm, no foul.
Yeah, you guys came through without everybody was pointed in the right direction. So Matt, this is your first multi-win season in the Cyber Thunder Racing League, and it couldn't come at a better time because in 2 weeks' time, we begin our Scrambler Series, what we have been talking about for the past 16 weeks out here. You're going into Atlanta Motor Speedway with a win and the momentum on your side. How are you feeling about your chances at your first championship here at Cyber Thunder?
Yeah, feeling good. I mean, obviously don't want to get cocky, but feeling confident. Like I've said in past interviews, like it's a top 5, top 10 truck every week. It's just you gotta just keep the race clean. No speeding on pit road. Try to avoid the accidents. I know sometimes it just ends up in your lap, but put yourself in good situations where you're not in those bad spots. So just gotta keep firing off the way we've been doing the last couple weeks, and I mean, hopefully everything keeps going our way. And I just gotta say quick, I heard you guys do a little dig at me last week because you said, "Oh, there's this one for the season," so I just had to prove you guys wrong.
I believe I think Arie probably said that. So
Throw me under the bus.
Well, Matt, congratulations, second win on the season, and then honestly, it couldn't come at a better time, and you're carrying a whole bunch of momentum on your side. And I think now, throughout the season, everybody's kept their eye on the 1 and the 55, but I think now there may be a third car that people got to keep an eye on, and that may be the 16. Matt, we're going to open the floor for you. Maybe you want to say hello to back home, watching you take away a second victory this season at Talladega.
Yeah, thanks to you two first for doing the broadcast. It's always great. I'm excited to go back and watch this one. I believe Andy sponsored the race, so shout out to him. Shout out to the league. It's great. Everybody who shows up every week, it's really fun racing everybody. Shout out to my mom and dad for watching. I'd like to shout out my friend Brig, because he was kind of on my case too about getting a second win there, and he was the one actually reminded me about the little dig that Arie made. So I had to go out there with a little chip on my shoulder there and prove everybody wrong. But thanks to my wife, my smoking hot wife, and thanks to my daughter for letting me do this, and my friends for watching. And thanks to Alto Construction for sponsoring me this season. It's nice to have the first multi-win season with them on the truck. So if you need any construction septic needs around the Orangeville, Ontario area, give them a call. They're great.
All right, Matt Semple doing the Victory Donuts out here tonight. Driver out of Orangeville, Ontario. Congratulations, Matt, once again on your second win of the season. Going to let you go back down with your team and debrief, and I think you'll pick out the trophy that you want in Victory Lane here in a few minutes once you get over there. But Arie, what a fun race that we saw, and the points, they certainly didn't disappoint either.
No, they didn't. It was fun to watch the battle for the race, for the stage wins, and then to keep track of that points battle as we went. It pretty much stays as it did entering, but it's always fun to keep track of that kind of thing. And I tell you what, I've been having a lot of fun playing with these cameras while we listen to Matt give his interview right there. But driver 16 does it with a chip on his shoulder. He comes out on top for a second win of the season and could very well score a third or more with the Scrambler Series coming up. And it's now or never, Tom, for all of these drivers. The 12 who have made the cut, you do not want to be the 12th out of 12 in the next race in Atlanta.
You do not, in the Scrambler Series at a high-level overview, and we'll talk more about it as we go along, but very simply put, the lowest finishing driver or lowest finishing two drivers, if it's a double elimination, will be eliminated from their championship hopes at each and every single week. No 3-round, no 4-round, no nothing. That race determines your championship hopes, and every corner could be your last.
With that said and away, looking forward to Atlanta in 2 weeks' time. Let's recap tonight's finishing order, the final race of the regular season and the final Superspeedway event of the season. Matt Semple takes the checkered flag, driver the 16, ahead of second place Logan Spencer in the 19. Chris Rose rounds out our podium ahead of Larry Bell, and Steven Music, driver the 09, scores a top 5 in tonight's event. Rick Thompson comes home in 6th ahead of Ed Jurgen in 7th. Tito Todorov in 8th place ahead of Andy Cork in 9th, and rounding out the top 10, it's Greg Mitchell.
On the outside of the top 10, looking in, we got David Gainforth comes home in 11th, followed by Amanda Sherman in the War Wagon out of TNA Motorsports. Casey Tomlinson's going to come home 13th on the board out here tonight in front of Frank DiMaggio out of Longshot Motorsports. Chris Lett's going to come home 15th with Brad Collins directly behind him. Tanner Marr going to come home 17th, followed by Eric Anderson. And the top 20 is rounded out by Nathan Dufton and Jason Raymond.
In 21st, it's Lee Campbell, driver of the 60, and Mike Stiverson following in suit. Both of those drivers make it into the playoffs. Cody Gibson in 23rd, ahead of Brian Dorsey, finishes in 24th. Jared Camilli rounds out the top 25. We've got double-double Brad Holmes in 26th. Mr. Fred Thompson comes home in 27th. Paxton Frith, driver of the 7, finishes in 28th, ahead of Gary Bowman in 29th. And rounding out the top 30, it's Corey Sherman.
The Lone Dutchman of Philip Van Vliet's going to come home 31st on the board out here tonight. 5 laps down. Could have been a better night. Got some damage in an accident for Philip. Andrew Caldwell, unexpected night for Andrew Caldwell in that 46. Dustin Ping and James Kinder round out our field of 34.
All right, what do we got? 7 races left? 7 or 8? How many does that come out to?
Yeah, we're gonna have 7 races in our Scrambler Series. We're gonna be taking next week off as it's a little bit too close to Christmas to be racing. So all these drivers, next time you see them on the track for the Tuesday Night Thunder Championship Series, going to be December 30th at Atlanta Motor Speedway, and that's going to be a single elimination race. So the lowest finishing championship eligible driver will end their championship hopes in week number 1.